How's it going, everyone? How's everything going in the wide world of warships? Well, as we all know, 0.6.0, the playtest, has been given a second playtest. There have been even more changes to the skill tree. Certain things have been dropped a tier, certain things have moved up a tier. This, in my opinion, has created even more quandaries for captains of certain ship classes. Certain things like fire prevention have been moved down to tier 4. It's kind of a big deal if you're a battleship. These changes are significant, and I think they require mentioning. What you see right here is the ship calculator provided by Ship Comrade. Critter put this together, www.shipcomrade.com. This is a very, very effective tool. I highly suggest you checking out this website and using this tool to figure out what you want to go with as far as your build-outs, your loadouts, your captain skill allocation when everything gets reset. Now, I'm primarily going to talk about how the changes will affect battleships and try and do some mock battleship build-outs, because battleships are what I primarily play. I absolutely love battleships, and I think you all probably know that by now. This wasn't always the case. In the closed beta, I loved destroyers, I loved cruisers, but right now I like battleships. And they'll probably change in a month or so. So, a mock build-out for battleships. Right now, you know, you kind of flip-flop between wanting endurance for your battleship, because you know, endurance keeps you in the fight longer. And for a beginner, I would say focusing on endurance type of skills is probably a good way to go, just so that you keep yourself in the fight longer. But things get really tough when you get to 3 and 4. When you get to these captain skill tiers, your choices become very hard. So let's do a mock loadout. And here at the 1 point skill level, you know, this one's almost a throwaway, but you know, some people are probably going to take preventative maintenance. I think I'm just going to choose priority target for the hell of it. I'm going to click on that, and you can see right here it brings it up down here under the skill selected. And it tells you what the skill does, and we all know that priority target tells you how many ships are aiming at you with your main guns. And as a battleship, you know, that could be helpful. Could be helpful, but we're just going to select this for now. And you can see over here on the right, this little info bar. You start off with 19 points. I've got 1 point spent. I've got 18 left. So we're going to move to tier 2. Now, the choices here aren't tough still. I mean, there are some, though. You basically, for a battleship right now, in my opinion, you have 2 choices, and that comes down to expert marksman or high alert. In my opinion, you know, for now, I'm going to take the 10% reload time to the damage control party, just because, for me, if I'm playing a battleship, I'm usually tanking, and I'm taking damage, and that means I might be on fire. That means I might have taken torpedoes. So reloading that damage control party 10% quicker, you know, that's 10% less time you're on fire or sinking. So we're going to select that at 2. Now here in tier 3, this is where things get a little bit tougher. You've got basics of survivability, which takes your high alert to a new level, and that extinguishes your fires and your floods quicker by 15%. That is something that I like to take normally. The extra HP for survivability expert, I don't take it. I don't know anyone that does. I saw a cruiser that had it the other day, and that's probably the first time I've ever seen a ship take this. But in battleships, I don't take that. I don't suggest you take it. Completely skip over this one. Now, the other things here, and this is where it gets a little tough. You've got superintendent, which I always take. I always take superintendent. I love having that extra heal in a battleship. It's a good thing, you know. Having 5 heals means you can play a little more lax, you can take a little more damage. In that same vein, on the support category, you've also got your basic firing training. That, of course, speeds up your reload time for your secondaries on battleships. So, right off the bat, right now, you have a hard choice. Do you want that extra heal, or do you want to increase your survivability by decreasing things by 15%? Right now, I'm going to go with the superintendent perk because fire damage can be repaired easily enough, as can flooding damage. So I'm going to go with superintendent just to go with it for now. So as a battleship, I'm going to take this. And if you're rolling with your premium consumables, you know, that puts you at 5 heals. That's a lot right there. And you can see here, I've already spent 6 points. I've got 13 remaining on a 19-point captain. And this brings us to tier 4. And this is where things get a little tough. This is where you really have to make some hard decisions that you didn't have to used to. Of course, fortunately, picking these is only going to cost you so much. If you got a 15-point captain, you're able to do this already. You're able to take 2 of these. But if you don't, you know, you're really going to have to decide. And even if you can take 2 of these, you're still going to be leaving stuff out. So really, for a battleship, what you choose here is going to come down to what line you're playing. So, you know, you've got advanced firing training. This is for your secondaries. This is a must-take if you're a German battleship. And I'm grinding German battleships right now, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to choose this right now. But to choose that, I have to forego some other things. Now, for a FDG or your Grosser Kurfürst, you know, concealment might not be that big of an issue because you can get spotted either way. Their surface detectability absolutely sucks. So if I'm a German battleship, I'm going to go for my secondary loadout over a concealment build or something else like that. So you can see right here I've already used 10 points. If you've got a 15-point captain laying around, or even a 14-point captain, that gives you 1 extra choice here on this tier 4. So obviously, well, not obviously, you might want your manual fire control for secondaries. And again, this is going to be tier dependent or ship line dependent. You know, if you're playing your German battleships or your Japanese line, yeah, you might want your manual control for secondaries. The radio position finding, I'm not going to take. I'm going to tell you right now, as a battleship driver, this does not interest me one bit, not one iota. So it's not a concern for me. Now, what does intrigue me is fire prevention, which they moved from 3 to 4. And oh, by the way, they buffed it to 10%. This is big right here. This can keep you in the fight even longer. So for me, and there's another one right there, manual fire control for your AA. But for me, I think maybe the go-to for players of battleships at this skill level, it might not be the advanced firing training. Maybe it is. But I think at least the second skill they're going to take, if they don't take advanced fire training first, it's probably going to be fire prevention. Because if you can prevent fires, and 10% is huge right there. Decreasing your risk by that much is huge. That keeps you in the fight quicker, and it kind of negates the need for this basics of survivability. It lessens the impact of not taking this at tier 3. So fire prevention is huge right there. And you can see on my calculator right here, I've taken 14 points. And if you have a 15-point captain, you've got 1 left laying around. And I would suggest not spending that on one of these little tier 1 skills. I would probably hold on to it. And if you chose to go with high alert on your first go around, I would take expert marksman on the second go around, or vice versa. If you're a battleship, I don't think you have a need for anything else. But again, this is for a certain type of ship. This is tough. These choices are not going to be easy, nor will they be easy for any other line. So basically, by creating equal tiers here with 8 skills each, it kind of shoehorns you into selecting certain things. It's not as easy as it was on the other skill tree, where certain tiers had less and some had more. I mean, it was a lot easier. This creates decisions. So, you know, if I'm a U.S. battleship, you know, maybe I'm not going to take superintendent. Maybe I'm just going to rely on my premium consumables, and, you know, I'm going to go with, let's just say I start off with, we'll go with priority target again. I'm really not impressed by any of these for battleships in this 1-point skill level. So let's say I'm a U.S. battleship, and I'm going to go with priority target for my 1 point. My 2 point, I'm going to add expert marksmanship. And then here is where things get dicey. You know, as a U.S. battleship, I'm probably not going to take superintendent. I'm probably going to focus on my AA. So, you know, you choose basic firing training. But that gives up a heal right there. Now you move to level 4. And you've got more decisions to make. Because, obviously, if you're a U.S. battleship, you're going to go for the advanced firing training, which, again, is another AA buff. If you do that, what do you pick from there? Do you go with your manual fire control for AA, which, if you're a U.S. battleship, yes, usually you do. Well, you do that, and by doing that, you can't take your fire prevention, you can't take concealment, which I do take on U.S. battleships. I have it on the Montana. You're probably not going to be as concerned about your secondaries, so this isn't something you need to worry about, but right here's a U.S. battleship. You know, these two things right here in the support category, those are what you're going to want, and that takes away your ability to use all these other important things, like concealment expert or your fire prevention. So, if you're a Kriegsmarine battleship, if you're German, you know, let's just say you take the expert marksmanship as well. You know, what do you focus on in that? You focus on your secondaries, because your secondaries absolutely rock. I don't think basic firing training is that big of a deal. It does help your reload time, but if you're in a German battleship, you're going to be tanking, you're going to be taking a lot of damage, so I would much rather go with superintendent. But here, once again, you get to this level 4 right here, and you have decisions to make. You got a lot of decisions. So you're obviously going to want to take your AFT to boost your secondary range, but do you want to take the manual fire control? I mean, yeah, it's a great skill. I mean, you can increase your hits, your secondary hits, by a lot. But if you're a German battleship, you're also going to be taking a ton of secondary fire as well, because you're going to be brawling. And if you're brawling, you're going to be on fire a lot. So, do you want to take the fire prevention over the manual fire control? You know, concealment, that's another good thing. You know, I've seen Tirpitz drivers use that. But what do you want? So let's go with fire prevention, and there's a loadout for that. But again, I don't know that I'm set on that. These are hard decisions. You know, people think this is a massive buff for battleships. But no, it's not a massive buff for battleships. Yeah, maybe the fire prevention. That might be considered a buff, that 10% now, but that's been moved down to level 4. That costs 4 points. And by taking that, as a battleship, you have to give up some very, very important skills that you already use. So I don't know what you do. I don't know what the options are. This is going to be very tough, and this is something to think about. But again, go to shipcomrade.com, because this calculator is a very good tool. It lists everything you need right here. It tells you what you're using. It gives you your points, how many you have left. And you know, you can set it so you start with 10 points to give you an idea of, you know, what you can select. You know, you can change your points right here. And it shows you how much XP it takes to get there as well. So Ship Comrade and Critter and the guys there have come up with a very useful and effective tool here. And I highly suggest taking a look at it. But guys, these changes to the skill tree for captain skills, it's not a game changer, but there are going to be some hard decisions ahead. Some very, very hard decisions. And, you know, I suggest getting out here and tooling around and playing around with this before you get in game and make some decisions that, you know, you're going to have to spend doubloons to fix. So anyhow, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this. And my choices in no way represent the right choices. If anything, far from it. But this is just food for thought and what I might do. And I'm still not certain I'm going to go with these choices. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm out.